today. One of the biggest impacts he had, as we all know, is through Relay for Life. We're very honored that the man who's going to speak next is the CEO of the American Cancer Society. Please welcome Dr. John Seffrin.
Good, beautiful afternoon. Lou, it's a privilege for me to bring condolences to you and the Gordy family, from your extended family, of the American Cancer Society, our 3 million volunteers, 6,000 professional staff. And I personally want to thank you for the honor and privilege of asking me to say a few words at this incredible memorial event. Edward Hale, an early American patriot, minister, scholar, historian, once said, I'm only one, but still I am one. I can't do everything, but I can do something. And because I can't do everything, I won't refuse to do what I can. Gordy understood those words. He lived those words. He came to me when we met as volunteers and said, John, more than being president of the American Cancer Society, I want to raise a lot more money for the American Cancer Society. And boy, did he do it. 30 years ago, Gordy did more than just what one man can do. He took to the track to fight back cancer, fight for his cancer patients by raising $27,000 and planted the seeds of an event that has touched millions of lives and literally has changed the world we now live in. At that time, he was already a volunteer leader, as he just mentioned on the screen, and president of the Pierce County unit. Just a few years later, we were honored to have him on the American Cancer Society's National Board of Directors, where he served with distinction. The walls in his home and office must be bowed by the weight of all the accolades and awards that he has received, but I would guess, I think I would say I know, that none were as precious to Gordy as the fire he lit in the hearts of millions. The flame of knowing that they could personally make a difference in the fight against cancer. In my 4 decades with the American Cancer Society, 2 decades as the CEO and 2 decades as a volunteer, there have been very few things that have transformed the fight against cancer and our organization as much as Gordy did through Relay for Life. Relay changed the American Cancer Society from a charity that collected money and provided services locally and funded basic cancer research nationally into a high-impact, living and breathing cancer prevention and control life-saving machine. Gordy built a platform for engaging millions of people touched by cancer, giving a real, living face and voice to the cancer patient in America and around the world. I've been to other parts of the world where still cancer isn't spoken out loud, and it's a stigma. Whereas, as we know, we've allowed cancer survivors to speak up, all 14 million of them in the United States. Relay provided a means of supporting thousands of communities with life-saving information about cancer, while also offering comfort to people as they remember the loved ones they've lost to this disease. And Relay created an important forum for efforts to fight back against cancer. Who would have thought that all this would happen? A world phenomenon sparked by a lone physician in Tacoma, Washington. Gordy did. Gordy did. It was Gordy's vision, and then it took hundreds of people like you here today and millions of others around the world to change that vision into a reality. Wow. Thanks to Gordy's vision, Relay for Life is today the single most successful fundraising event in the world and has helped make the American Cancer Society the nation's largest not-for-profit organization dedicated to eliminating cancer. Each year, 4 million people participate in relays in over 5,000 separate events in 23 countries, and raising on top of that $27,000 in 1985 over $5 billion for the fight against cancer. One man. Thanks to Gordy's vision and tenacity, today communities as far away as Swatow, South Africa, or Fukushima, Japan, are walking hand in hand in the fight against cancer. They might do it a little bit differently than we do it here, but that's okay. To think that these incredible successes began with the efforts of a single individual is proof that each one of us has the power within us to make a difference, and like Gordy, to change the world for the better. Gordy's legacy lives on in our hearts and minds, not only among the hundreds of people here gathered today, but also the millions of volunteers and supporters he has inspired, fighting hard to create a world without cancer. His vision and determination has fueled our progress so that today cancer mortality rates are 20% lower than they were 2 decades ago, which translates into approximately 1.3 million lives not lost to cancer that would have otherwise been lost. Or as I like to say, we're saving 400 more lives per day because of the efforts of Relay for Life. The global relay movement he inspired will help us one day, I hope not in the not too distant future, one day to get to 1,000 more lives per day in America and 10,000 lives per day worldwide. That is the gist of his vision, after all, isn't it? A world free of cancer, a world with less cancer and more birthdays. Robert Frost, who's my favorite poet, published his first book, Poetry, the same year the American Cancer Society was founded in 1913. And the last poem in his first book of poetry is entitled Reluctance. And it ends with this stanza: Ah, 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 when to the heart of man was it ever less than a treason to go with the drift of things, to yield with the grace to reason, and bow and accept the end of a long season. Well, this may be the end of a season, but our love for Gordy and his vision will live on until we finish the fight for Gordy. I just flew in from Atlanta, but the rumor is out. And if you haven't heard it, I'm told that we now have a Relay for Life track inside the pearly gates.